Pleased to welcome Dr. Shawn Arent, Director of the Rutgers Center for Health and Human Performance. Good to see you, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Talk to us about an issue you're very interested in. Let's call it childhood fitness.
Yeah. So, it's been interesting because at Rutgers, as part of the Institute for Food, Nutrition, and Health, there's a big childhood obesity focus. And while I think that's important, the other thing that we do within the Center for Health and Human Performance is realize that you might have 10 to 15% of adolescents that are considered overweight or obese, but that number grows to 65 and 70% overweight when you start to look at adults. So clearly somewhere along the way, there's more and more and more and more. So what we've really tried to do is focus on the fitness aspects of the child rather than just keying in on the obesity, because we're trying to stem the tide. And one of the things that I like to focus on is athleticism. And I treat it like everybody's an athlete when we do it that way.
Even if they're not in competitive athletics?
Yeah, because it's a skill set. So athleticism isn't just about being an athlete. It's about having confidence in your movement patterns. It's about being able to perform different skills repetitively and with a degree of precision. And it makes us more functional in a lot of different environments. And what's really interesting, though, is, about 72% of school-age children are involved in at least one organized sport. So from a sporting context and developing athleticism, you actually do target a majority of the population that way. But I think when you look at developing motor skills and functional capacity and things like that, there's something to be said for treating all of us. We were designed to move. From an evolutionary biological standpoint, we were designed to move. And I think we've managed to engineer that out of a lot of our daily stuff. And what we're trying to do is build it back in and make it valued, really from a health and performance standpoint.
You have a partnership with Horizon.
Yeah, with Horizon New Jersey Foundation.
Describe it.
So what we've done is we're actually going into a few schools around the New Brunswick area. And what we're doing is we're using an athlete mentor model. And so what we're doing is using college athletes from Rutgers as well as some of the professional athletes that we work with. And they're going to go in and help deliver nutrition education, motor skill development, and work with like the physical education classes in the schools. So we're trying to get a few of those schools on board. And then what we want to do is then over the course of the year, really teach those skill types of things, not just sport, but just motor skill. And then what we're going to do is at the end, based on scores within the schools, we're going to hold a Rutgers Horizon Day at Rutgers University and actually have these schools kind of compete against each other with different skills challenges, not necessarily sporting challenges, but physical skill. And, the idea is to build, school pride, to get these kids involved, to make them a little more well-rounded when it comes to their physical ability.
What's the long-term payoff for these kids?
I think the long-term payoff is giving them the skills necessary to be physically active for life. It's interesting when we think about physical activity, we know it's good for us, right? But when you look at the number that actually do it at a level enough to improve health and improve fitness, you're talking maybe 20, 30% if you're lucky. And so what we're trying to do is give them a skill set where they feel confident enough to continue to be physically active. And I think the thing that's always struck me, we often talk about the value of physical activity when it's absent. So in other words, we talk about type 2 diabetes, obesity, and things like that. When you look at it from a human capital standpoint, where we have social, emotional, physical, economic benefits that go with this, I think putting physical activity into the mix rather than worrying what happens when you take it out is a more positive approach to it.
How'd you get into this?
Oh, man, I grew up as an athlete, and this has always been a huge part of my life. I've been lucky to be around sport and around some amazing people. And I think for me, I just have a passion for using something that's been so good to me, in terms of allowing me to do some of the things that I have and using it to benefit these kids. And I think, I remember when we were kids, man, come summertime, sun up to sundown, we're outside playing, and it's funny, you go
today?
Today you don't see it anymore.
Has this, I have my iPhone somewhere, I try to keep it off the set, have handheld devices, digital communication, has it complicated the effort to have younger people be healthier?
Yeah, ironically, I think what's happened is we've become so reliant on it. And here's the thing, if we use it right, it could actually be a huge benefit, right? Because we're using technology to help them gauge what they're doing, maybe, give them different things. We're actually doing a study with adolescent cancer survivors, and we designed an online app for them to be able to track their workouts and kind of contribute as a community into what they're doing and have a social concept to it. So I think that part's good, but I also think that we become so reliant on technology that we forget to unplug. And I actually have a good friend of mine, Andy Galpin. He's a professor out in California at Cal State Fullerton. He wrote a book called Unplugged, and it's about how we've become so reliant on technology that we forget to engage with nature and listen to how we feel.
Engage with nature.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
So for example, getting outdoors and appreciating, an outdoor run or a bike ride, or, for me, it's surfing or skiing, and things like that. So I think when we start to engage in the world around us instead of here, you start taking in.
Before I let you go, I'm curious about this. Even though I'm asking about our kids, it's true for anyone out there.
Sure.
So we have 3 younger kids, teenagers, and a young little girl who's 7. And there are times that they'll all be in their separate rooms. And they're all athletic. Mm-hmm. They can, and if we're blessed, they're able to be athletic. But I'll notice they are in their rooms. They're in the rooms, and they're doing their thing. And one kid will say to the other, why don't we go out in the yard and kick a soccer ball, or two older boys play baseball? And inevitably, one of them or both of them will say, the other two will be like, now we're in the middle of some digital game, something going on, virtual relationships, God knows what they're doing. And I begin to realize, the point I'm trying to make here is, how do you undo it once they get to that point?
Yeah. It's a good question, and that's part of what we're working on, is to figure out how to unravel the web we've weaved.
Unplug, as you said, the name of your friend's book.
Yeah, and it's fantastic, because it's really this idea that to step away from these things and actually start to pay attention to how you feel. You see it with teenagers, they're walking, they're on their phone, they're not talking to the person next to them.
That's right.
They're FaceTiming, they're messaging, but we've taken out a lot of that interaction part, and that includes physically. We've just, we've inadvertently engineered it out of what we do. And what our goal is, what we try to do at the Center for Healthy Performance at Rutgers, is engineer it back in.
Real quick before I let you go, that's one thing to say that Rutgers is doing this, but you can't do it alone. The importance of partnerships. Yeah,
so we're very lucky. We work very closely with the Horizon Foundation now, and obviously childhood obesity and health is a big focus of theirs. So they've been good enough to give us a grant to try to do something about this. We work closely with Quest Diagnostics with their Blueprint for Athletes, and looking at biomarkers that predict health, disease, performance, and really taking a positive approach to it. And then honestly, just the support we receive even internally at Rutgers, and trying to make New Jersey the healthy state is really a huge part of it.
Dr. Arent, thank you for joining us. By the way, Horizon is a supporter of NJTV News and of our production company as well, their foundation. But I want to thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Summit Medical Group, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates, Johnson & Johnson, Valley National Bank, United Airlines, and by Choose New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.